that point in time, on Gimel Shvat, or corresponding to yesterday, in the year Toshnun Beis, the Rebbe spoke a surprise Sikha. Middle of a week after Mincha, the Rebbe suddenly indicated that he wanted to speak. No one was expecting it. And the Rebbe mentioned the idea that because it's a week before Yud Shvat, it's necessary to begin preparing for it. And then the Rebbe said that the Frierdiekr Rebbe, at the end of his life, found himself in a situation that it was difficult for him to communicate physically. It was difficult for the Frierdiekr Rebbe to speak. And this is similar to the idea of Moshe Rabbeinu. Now Moshe Rabbeinu had a difficulty in speech. The Eibusha told Moshe, don't worry about it, you are going to have a spokesperson that's going to do the talking for you. And that's going to be your brother Aaron. So the Rebbe said that Sikha, that the Frierdiekr Rebbe experienced a similar idea, where there's a difficulty in speech, you can't hear the Frierdiekr Rebbe, and therefore it is our obligation as Chassidim of the Frierdiekr Rebbe to be the spokespeople, to be the Aaron HaKoyin for the Frierdiekr Rebbe. And how does one do that? By learning the Torah of the Frierdiekr Rebbe. That's the Sikha that Rebbe said. So other than the fact that it was Taka 1 week before Yud Shvat, the Rebbe spoke about preparing for Yud Shvat, mentioning the Frierdiekr Rebbe and the difficulty, it was still a little bit, say the word, interesting, not understandable why the Rebbe would choose, specifically that year out of all years, week before Yud Shvat, to speak about this and to make this point that we are to be the spokespeople for the Frierdiekr Rebbe. A few weeks later, Chav Zayin Adar Aleph, when the Rebbe suffered a stroke, it became clear and evident to all that this is a message to each and every one of us, that when we find ourselves in a situation, at that point in time we found ourselves in a situation that the Rebbe was there, Begashmis, we couldn't hear the Rebbe speak, and then when we find ourselves in a situation at all times subsequently, when we don't have that schus to physically hear Torah from the Rebbe, it is our obligation to serve as the spokespeople of the Rebbe, and we do that through learning his Torah. So coming together in preparation for Yud Shvat, learning the Torah of the Rebbe, in this manner is certainly a fulfillment of that Eirah, and the Rebbe should help that this should serve as a source of nachas to the Rebbe, it should serve as a source of inspiration to each and every one of us, and should accomplish whatever it is that the Rebbe wanted to accomplish by the idea of learning Torah in general, and particularly learning the Torah of the Nasi. I'd like to also thank Label Cohen for his time, his inspiration, his efforts, his work that he has done in putting together this morning's breakfast. And to the one who put together the actual breakfast, Begashmis, Mrs. Sima Engelstein, who's not here in the room, we thank her as well. And a special Yashar Koyach, as we said before, to all the parents for coming, and to Rabbi Reuven Wolf, taking from his busy schedule, running Mayin Yisroel, and doing all the tremendous work that he does in the Fotzes HaMayonos here in Los Angeles, for coming and spending the next 35-40 minutes with us, giving a shiur in this Ois of the Maimer that we just learned together, fathers and sons.
Good morning. As you can see from the hat that I wear, that I'm not a born Lubavitcher. And when I became a Lubavitcher, everybody said Wolf went crazy. Why? Because Lubavitchers are crazy. Now that has been the way it is, or was, and is still today, in the broader frum Yiddish Welt, Lubavitchers are crazy. Some people have very, very extreme opinions about Lubavitchers, but there's people who don't like Lubavitch. We're not going to talk about that. People, just average people, think about Lubavitchers. Most of them will say that Chabadniks are crazy, or they will say, you can't say they're normal. Nicht exactly normal. Nicht normale Menschen. When we went to a Chabad wedding, people like to go to a Lubavitcher wedding, non-Lubavitchers, because they know they're going to have fun by a Lubavitcher wedding. If you go to a different chasana, a Babaver chasana, a Vishnitzer chasana, a Litzma, a Snagdisha chasana, everybody dances in order, it's nice, it's beautiful big circles, and everybody's lifting their feet together and everything. And you go to a Lubavitcher wedding, it's madness! Madness! Mamish, Freilach, everybody's spinning, twirling, everybody's doing their own things, it's the Titzach's Freilach. Lubavitchers are crazy. Who made us crazy? So there's a holy craziness. It's very, very, very amazing that the Rebbe becomes Rebbe and he speaks to our generation and he says, Cheder, we are going to go crazy. A good craziness. Because the only way we're going to bring Mashiach and we're going to change the world is through madness. Now it's interesting. Amongst all Hasidim, Chabad means mind, means intellect, means seichel. We study, we learn Hasidus, and we have the intelligence of Hasidus. The wisdom of Hasidus is in Hasidus Chabad. Not in the other Hasidus that's there. Doesn't have that much the wisdom, the mind of Hasidus. And yet, Dafka, the Lubavitchers are crazy. So really, what's going on? You say, when you take a look at the Rebbe, at Lubavitch, from the very beginning, I'm sure you're familiar, the Rebbe immediately set off doing things that everybody thought was strange. First of all, in the early 1950s, there was a big divide amongst the Jewish people, amongst Frum Yidden and non-Frum Yidden. And everybody felt that in order to keep Yiddishkeit safe, we have to keep away from non-Frum Yidden. We have to separate ourselves from them. Because the non-Frum Yidden, if you get too close to them, they chas v'shalom might make you not Frum. Alright, you'll lose your Yiddishkeit. So you have to create big walls and separate yourself. The Rebbe had a whole different idea. The Rebbe's idea was, we reach out and we're going to change the non-Frum world. And most of the Frum Yidden said, that's crazy. That's crazy, it's madness. It's very risky. You don't do that. That's a new derech, it's a new thing. Where does he take the guts or the plates, the shoulders to do that? People thought it was crazy. And then the way it had happened, that the Rebbe went and he sent Lubavitchers to live all over the world in Yehupitzville, every crazy place where no one is. What do you mean? You're taking a family, children, there's no cheder, there's no kosher food, there's no chalav Yisroel, there's nothing there. And yet families moved out all across the world, and today we know what shlichus is. And it's a craziness. It's really a craziness. And then when the Rebbe started Miftzayim, what a madness. What do you mean you're walking on the street and you're just approaching people to put on tefillin? That's not a normal thing. Normal people don't do that. Or you're Jewish, here, let's put on these weird, strange boxes in the middle of the street. Shemzach, go inside a little room high. And that's from a Yidden, that's the way it was always. In the airport, you're ready to dive and you look for the place that no one, Chas v'Shalom, is going to see you. You're hiding because you're so embarrassed that you're a Yid, and then you're doing a strange thing of putting on tefillin. I remember feeling that way, very much. But Lubavitchers, no way. Right in the middle of the street, tefillin, you. And then, to me, it was the weirdest thing, craziest thing. And that's where after I came to Lubavitch. But on Beverly Boulevard in La Brea, people walk around on Rosh Hashanah with the shofar, stopping people in the middle of the street in front of Starbucks, blowing weird sounds. And of course, I know it's a mitzvah. But it's crazy. You don't do that in the middle of the street. The Rebbe, and whenever everybody caught up, whenever the people in the world started getting, all the other Hasidim and all the other people started getting a little comfortable and understanding something Lubavitch is doing and seeing, wow, it's really having a big effect. It's making so many Yidden frum, it's spreading mitzvahs to so many people. The Rebbe went and pushed us into something new that's even crazier than before. All the time. And the Rebbe talking about Mashiach and crying, we want Mashiach now. Everybody said Lubavitchers are totally off the wall. What do you mean? Let Hashem bring Mashiach whenever He wants. And we want Mashiach now. Everybody was making fun of it. Everybody. And the Rebbe always was moving us beyond what's normal. And we ourselves didn't understand why. But and also the connection to the Rebbe. Everybody knows there are Hasidim all over. But Lubavitchers have a certain madness in their connection to the Rebbe. They love their Rebbe so much that's beyond anything. They carry a picture of him everywhere, and they may have other people telling you, didn't they? They put the Rebbe's picture sometimes under the baby by the bris. They put it. Everything is Rebbe. They're so madly in love with the Rebbe. It's like crazy. People say that all the time to me, and not that much now, but when everything is always madness and crazy. And then when the Rebbe started, see, this is something that Lubavitchers are still not comfortable today. The Rebbe wants us to go and influence Goyim. Shabbat Mitzvah saying, very few Lubavitchers are doing it. Because even Lubavitchers are embarrassed to do that. Like uncomfortable. What do you mean to tell a Goyim? The Rebbe wants us to do that. Go out, speak to Goyim. Why? When the Rebbe began his Nesias, the Rebbe said that we're going to change the world and we're going to bring Mashiach with shtus the Kedusha, with madness of holiness. Why? Because the world is suffering from craziness, from an unholy craziness, from a bad craziness. And you can't fix a crazy world just with wisdom and with intelligence and with smartness. You can only fix the world with a craziness. This is an unholy craziness, and we're going to combat the craziness with a kedusha-digga craziness. But what does it mean, a kedusha-digga craziness? Let's understand. See, there's a big difference between the shtus of the other shtus and the shtus of kedusha. Let's understand, what does the Rebbe mean with shtus the kedusha? The shtus the kedusha is something. Let's think about when the Yid, this week is Parashas Beshalach. When the Yidden went out of Mitzrayim, they were all coming towards the Yam Suf. Mitzrayim had an army probably of a few million people chasing them, and we weren't really armed. We didn't know, we weren't trained for war. We came to the Yam Suf. We were trapped by all directions. It was the Midbar on one side, as the Medrash said, wild beasts were visible. Yidden were terrified to go that way. Mitzrayim was keeping us stuck. We had a crashing sea, the ocean was right in front of us. And where were we going to go? We were mamash stuck. And the Eibishter speaks to Moshe Rabbeinu and he tells him, David b'nei Yisroel v'Yisou, tell the Yidden to travel. Where to? You're coming down. Imagine it's in the middle of the night. You see the crashing waves that are coming in. And the Yidden are going down the slopes. They're coming down mamash onto the beach. And where are they going to go? Go into the water. What does he mean go into the water? Now, the Eibishter told Moshe Rabbeinu that the sea would split. I don't know if Moshe Rabbeinu told the Yidden that the nace was going to happen. Doesn't say that. Now, Hashem says, David b'nei Yisroel v'Yisou, so they should travel. So what does Nachshon ben Aminadav do? He just walks right. The Eibishter said, travel. But hold it. What are you doing? What's with your wife and with your kids? Where are you going to go? We'll go swimming in the ocean? And how far are you going to go? In the middle of the night, with the babies. Where are you going? We're going to die. Are we supposed to die now? I don't know. We don't know anything. But we're going. Why are we going? Because we're told to go. Does it make sense to us? Do we understand what's happening? No, but we realize that we're connected to Moshe Rabbeinu. And Moshe Rabbeinu is connected to the Eibishter. And if he's telling us to go, even though it doesn't fit in our seichel, even though it doesn't fit in our mind, that's what we have to do. And they went. And they went into the water. Now, thinking about it, was that craziness? Of course it was craziness. But is that a craziness that is less than intelligence? Or is that a craziness that's better than intelligence? Better than the mind? Which one is it? I mean, if they wouldn't have gone, if they said, no, we're afraid to go, it doesn't make sense to us, and they would have stayed, would that have been a smart thing to do? That would have been maybe what the mind told them, but we would still be stuck in Mitzrayim. The fact that we were moved ahead beyond the limitations of our own mind, and we walked inside the water, and we went to Matan Torah, we got the Torah, we have Eretz Yisroel, we changed the world, and we're sitting here today as the greatest people on earth. Why? Because we went beyond our minds, beyond our seichel. And that's what the Rebbe wants. See, as Chassidus Chabad, the Chassidic Chabad, we always have to learn. Chassidus always demands of us to fill our minds with holy concepts, with holy ideas, with Kedusha, with a deep understanding of what Torah and Mitzvahs are all about. But we always have to leave a space open in our mind for something that's bigger than our mind, something that we don't understand, and to just follow it because this is the Emmis, because this is what we were told. This is what the Rebbe tells us, and this is the Emmis. And that's called Shtus the Kedusha. Now the Rebbe is basing the Maimer on Shtus the Kedusha, and that is leadership, and that we have to follow him with a Mesiras Nefesh that's bigger than our Seichel. It's based on the Frierdiekr Rebbe's Maimer, which was, so to speak, sort of the tzava telling the next generation of what it's going to be like to be Doir Hashimi, the seventh generation of Hasidim. So we're going to learn now the Ois of the Maimer relating to this year, in which the Frierdiekr Rebbe is telling us what is the shtus of this world, why this world is really a shtus, why the Yetzer Hara that we have is really shtus, it's foolishness, and how that foolishness, however, that sometimes gets to us, has a certain limit. It only has a limitation of how much it can trap us, because if we're not working hard to combat the Yetzer Hara, if we're not working hard to be a chassid, we slowly fall into the shtus. Because we're going to be crazy anyways. We get into the silly craziness, and we might as well get into not the silly craziness, but the beautiful craziness. So that Rebbe is going to explain how the craziness of the world can only cover us to a certain degree, but it can't cover us completely. So let's see Sif Dalet together. This that the nefesh bahamis, our behemoth, covers up on the Neshamah, v'hainu haruach shtus, which is the spirit of shtus, shemachasa u'maylam al oira emes, that covers up on the truth. See, the Maimer is based on an idea, or one of the main ideas, which is the Maimer talks about a lot, is ein adam oiver avera helen kei nechnas by ruach shtus. A person doesn't do an avera unless he gets a spirit of insanity. Literally becomes crazy for a few moments. And he forgets, his mamish acting in a ridiculous, crazy thing. Doing something in a ridiculous manner. And the reason for that is because Torah and mitzvahs are life. Torah and mitzvahs are our plug, in which we plug into life. Through Torah and mitzvahs, the Eibishter's life. Hashem is the source of life, and Hashem gives us life through Torah and mitzvahs. And when we're chas v'sholem disobeying something that Hashem said, we are cutting ourselves off from life. And if someone to cut himself off from life is mad, is craziness. There are people that sometimes, because of certain hardships and because of certain difficulties that they had in their life, they've gone mad. There are people that have gone mad and they do things to themselves that harm themselves. I knew a person who used to take a knife and cut themselves. And they like to watch themselves bleed. Now obviously, okay, no one's going to say that's normal. The person should go visit someone who can help them out. Sometimes the people need help, needs a therapist or something to help them regain their normalcy. But that's crazy, right? So to do something that is harming yourself and endangering your life is stupidity, not narishkeit, right? Now, being that Hashem is life, and by us being plugged into Hashem through all of the 613 mitzvahs, so then we're alive, fully alive. You who cleave to Hashem are alive. So therefore, every act that we do that is opposite of Torah mitzvahs is a shtus. That's why Chazal say, a normal person wouldn't do that. Ein adam over avera. Person doesn't do an avera. Elin kei nechnas by ruach shtus. The problem is, the shtus is working pretty well for most of us, sadly. We a lot of times forget and we do things we shouldn't be doing. Why? So the Rebbe says, because the nefesh bahamis, our animal soul, is covering on our neshama. See, this that Hashem is life, and there's no other life but Hashem, is something that our neshama feels, and that our neshama knows. But how come we don't always feel that way all the time? That is because our neshama has a peel on top of it. A peel, a shell. Something that's covering. And we don't always feel our neshama. Sometimes we feel only the peel. Just like you have a fruit and the fruit has a peel on top of it, or a nut, and the nut's got like an outside on it. So too, in our consciousness, in our feeling, we have a neshama, but our neshama is covered up with a peel called the nefesh bahamis. And sometimes the nefesh bahamis gets so thick, and so that we don't feel anymore the neshama, we only feel our nefesh bahamis. And our nefesh bahamis doesn't think Hashem is life. Our nefesh bahamis thinks that life is just life, all kinds of other stuff that are life. So what he's saying is the neshama, this that the nefesh bahamis is able to cover up our neshama, is only ala midos the nefesh elokim. It's only on the outer part of our neshama, on the emotions of our neshama. But not on the essence of our neshama. A yid's neshama, on the essence of his neshama, that can never be blocked. Never be blocked. What does that mean? So let's read a little further. Because it says in the pasuk, Yaakov chevel machlosai, that Yidden are kichel. The beginning of the pasuk is kichelek Hashem amoy, that Yidden are a part of Hashem. Yaakov. What does it mean that Yidden are part of Hashem? It means that our neshamas, each and every one of us, is a piece of Hashem from above. Yaakov chevel machlosai. Yaakov is the rope of his inheritance. So the Rebbe explains over here that there's two parts to the neshama, based on what the Alter Rebbe says. Two parts to the neshama. There is the neshama that is a piece of Hashem, mamish, a part of Hashem, and that neshama is one with Hashem up there in Shemayim, one with Hashem himself. Okay? Then the neshama comes down here in this world. Now people make a mistake. People think when the neshama comes down in this world, it means the neshama leaves up there, it flies down like with wings, and it comes down here, and it comes down in our body, and then we're alive. When you're thinking about a new baby being born, you think, hey, the neshama just flew in, and it came in, so the neshama went away from up there, and it came down over here. That's not true. When the neshama comes down on the body, it's like the neshama remains up there, and it just extends itself. It comes like shining a beam of light, like a flashlight. The light is there, but the neshama extends all the way down. Hashem directs the power of the neshama to go down into the body. And then when it comes down in the body, it still has a continuous pipe, a continuous, like a plug, a long cord. Like you plug something in, like this plug, that's connecting, I don't know what, because the mic isn't, the camera. This plug, this is an extension that each and every one of us has. A plug like this, a cord like this that's going all the way up, and it's plugged into Hashem himself. And then there is the neshama as it comes down through this, and at the other end is inside our body. This kashrus and neshama belokus su chevel is like a rope. Hashazer mitaya agnimin. Now the rope, you don't see it so much over here because this thing there's a plastic on the top. But if I would cut this open, not a good idea to do it for sure, not when it's plugged in. If I would cut this open and peel away the outside plastic, you would see that inside there's not just one. There's a bunch of threads that make up this cord. Like I think they're like like wires. Yeah, the thing is filled with wires. So the same as with our neshama. That our neshama it's a rope, but it's not just one single cord. It has like a bunch of threads, a bunch of wires that wire our neshama all the way up to Hashem. How many wires are there? Oh, like the tzitzis you would have, right? So we have how many wires? There are 613 that make up the wire connection of our neshama to Hashem. The chevel hu neshama atzmo. Now you see, the Rebbe is over here saying something very, very powerful. That the rope is the neshama itself. See, we sometimes think that you got like this. You have a yid, that's us, and you have Hashem that's up there, and then what makes the connection between us and Hashem? Hashem gave us 613 mitzvahs, and the mitzvahs are what give us a connection to the Eibishter. When I do a mitzvah, I become connected. When I put on tefillin, I become connected. When I wear tzitzis, I become connected. When I put on a mezuzah, I make my connection. When I eat matzah on Pesach, I become connected. But he's saying it's not the case. It's not like there is that the mitzvah makes the connection. The yid himself, his neshama, is already connected with 613 strands, all the way up. If chas v'shalom I'm not doing the mitzvah, then I'm causing the connection to become disconnected. But the yid is essentially his very neshama. This is who we are. We as Yidden are mitzvah people. This is our life. Our life mamish is mitzvahs. This is our very beingness is mitzvahs. That's why when you go to a Yid, the Rebbe taught us, we say, are you Jewish? And he says, yeah, tefillin. And you say right away tefillin, and most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, we get Yidden to put on tefillin by just saying those words. Are you Jewish? Let's put on tefillin. And the guy says, yeah, he puts on tefillin. Now you say, well, hold it. Don't you have to do some explaining? Shouldn't you sit down with him first and learn a whole mimer? And explaining the greatness of tefillin, and what does it mean to be a Jew, and what is the Eibishter, and how does it mean to be connected with the Eibishter. I'll learn, I'll die, and then finally I'll make my connection. But it doesn't work that way. The Rebbe taught us, are you Jewish? Tefillin. How does that work? And the answer is because the Yid that you're speaking to, his Neshama is made up of tefillin. That's who he is. The fact that he didn't put on tefillin all his life is because he never felt his Neshama. Because no one ever called him, you're a Yid. No one said, you're Jewish. He knew he's Jewish, but no one said to him, hey, you're a Jew. But when you say to the Yid, hey, Yid, Jew, what happens? Oh, suddenly it shakes him. So I'm a Yid. Now what is a Yid? A Yid is tefillin. A Yid is Shabbos, because that's who our Neshama is made up from 613 strands, which are all the 613 mitzvahs. This is who we are. This is our life. This is our blood. So that's why we put on tefillin with the Yid. The Yid wants to do it automatically. Right? So now he says, the hachevel hu haneshama atzon, the shmasei shel adam hu hachevel is the rope hamakashre belukus. Elozois haneshama atzmai shezura metayag nimen. The neshama has 613 strands. The Isa B'Sifra Shalbeinin in Perik Nun Aleph as stated in Tanya, the Neshama Kulula Metarya Koiches. And our Neshama is included of 613 Koiches. The Tama Davar Hu, the reason why our Neshama is entwined, why does our Neshama have 613 powers to it? 613 wires. So here the Rebbe says a very, very big and amazing thing, that the reason why our Neshama has 613 powers is because our body has 613 koiches. 613, 248 limbs, and 365 arteries or blood vessels. That's our body. And the reason why our neshama is made with 613 is to fit our body. Which is the opposite of the way everybody always thinks. We always think it works something like this. Hashem desired 613 mitzvahs. That's his desire. Up in Shemayim, Hashem has a desire. I want 613 mitzvahs. In order to Hashem have his way, what does he do? He creates a neshama, that the neshama is also molded with 613 parts to it, so that the neshama can do the 613 mitzvahs. Now, a neshama without a body can't do mitzvahs. So Hashem creates a body to match the neshama. The neshama matches the mitzvahs, and that's how Hashem gets his way of having 613 mitzvahs being done. Okay, so the body is the last thing in Hashem's mind. The first thing in Hashem's mind is he wants mitzvahs. The next thing in Hashem wants is he wants Yidden to do those mitzvahs. And the third thing, and the last thing is, well, you need to make a body that is going to fit these mitzvahs. But the Rebbe over here says the total opposite. Hashem really, really wants more than anything else is he wants the physical Jew in this world. The physical Yid, your body. That's the most precious thing in the world, is the physical body of a Yid. Now, that physical body is structured with in a manner of 613. So now the Eibishter makes a neshama be matching the body 613. And gives us 613 mitzvahs so that the neshama can take the body that is made of 613 and get the body completely to be one with Hashem. That's the way it is. So he explains, for my sake the world was created. The oilam u'meloshin helem. Oilam means concealment. The chol echad ve'echad chayav loimar, everybody has to say, the helem v'tzimtzum erisha nivra b'shvili. That Hashem concealed and hid himself for the sake of me. You know, Chazal say, you must have heard this, that B'shvili nivra olam, we're going to get now, for me the world was created. Now there's one way of taking this very wrong. For me the world is created means that every pleasure and every delight and every geshmaka thing that there is in the world, I need to have. Why? Because the world was created for me. So the world is created for me, that means and if chas v'shalom, you don't give me something, how dare you do that? How dare you take away something you don't let me have, that extra piece of lox? How dare, if the whole world was created for me, including the lox? Right? Well, why? But that's not what it means. How the Frierdiekr Rebbe is explaining, B'shvili nivra olam means like this. It means that Hashem, when he created the world, Hashem concealed and covered himself. To make the world, Hashem had to block his Emmis. Hashem had to block his truth. And he created the world. And how dark did he make the world? How much did Hashem conceal himself? Hashem hides and hides and hides and hides and hides and hides and hides with like a billion covers. As he covers himself until the gashmius of this physical world comes into existence. And why did the Eibush to do that? Because he wanted that only one person, and who's that person? I have to say it's me. You have to say it's you. Every single person, and it's really true, only you. Hashem created this dark world because he wants someone to fix it. Who's the guy who has to fix it? The entire project. Imagine if you found out that the entire Apple company invested everything, and the entire company is going to go in Drehdarai. It's going to go bankrupt tomorrow if you don't do one thing. There's something you need to do. Everybody's waiting. The whole thing is going to go kaput. Goodbye. All the investment. And there's thousands of shareholders, millions of shareholders. People are going to lose all their money, all their possessions. Everybody's going to lose everything. The entire... What? And there's something that's just reliant on... There's only one person. For whatever reason. I don't know why. There's something about you. I don't know. I'm just thinking about this second. I don't know. Maybe they need your blood. Alright? Because only you have that kind of a blood. And you have to poke it, put the blood on this swab of thing, and they're going to put it in, and it's going to save the Ganze company. I don't know why. Whatever. Okay? And then you're kind of pressure. You could be getting thousands of emails, people calling you, people telling you, come on, you're going to do it, you're going to do it. Yeah, I'm going to do it. Yeah, you're sure you're going to do it. Yeah, I'm going to do it. That's all depends. No one else can do it. And you got CEOs from everywhere coming to you, calling you, because you're the only one who can do it. Or else the whole thing is worthless. The Eibush created a big world with us, and the point of the world is that he hides himself, and he wants us to find him, and the only one who's able to find him, to do this hell and break, is only you. So who are you going to rely on? Someone else? No one else to do it. That the world was created for me. But for what me? Not my Neshama, my body. That my body should do the Ratzon Hashem. That my physical body should do Hashem's will. Right? So the Rebbe says, "V'adam u'betzir ramach evarim v'shesagidin shehem b'mispar tayag v'lechein kol ha'madreges b'shtalshlus and b'mispar hazeh on these numbers hine lechein hine gam b'haneshama reyeshkam kein taryag koiches." The Neshama also has 613 powers shebehem tzuluyim atayag mitzvahs, which the 613 mitzvahs are dependent on the nefesh, on the neshama that's in the body that's going to do it. The Chevel said the neshama, we don't have really time to learn the rest inside that much, but the Rebbe says like this, and this rope is connected to Hashem up there. The neshama comes down in the body of 613, and every time a yid is doing the mitzvah and fulfilling what Hashem wants, he keeps his neshama well connected, and he's plugged into life. If chas v'shalom we're ignoring one of those mitzvahs, so what's happening? If we ignore one of the mitzvahs, so either we do something Hashem said don't do, or we don't do something Hashem said yes to do, what are we doing? We're disconnecting one of the 613 strands from Hashem. One of them becomes disconnected and we become less alive. So obviously everybody's going to say that's insane. That's insane. You know what that would be like? It would be like you just got a new phone, okay, a real fancy schmancy phone, and you got like hundreds and hundreds of different things you can do with it. This, that, all kinds of really cool stuff. It's the newest iPhone that there is. Okay, you look at it and you say, you know what? As long as the phone really can make phone calls, it's pretty good. So you're going to open it up. I had someone come to my house because my wife's phone fell down and it cracked the glass. It was the first time I saw the inside of an iPhone was Friday. Mamish this Friday. Someone from a friend of ours, he loves fixing things like this. He came to the house and he opened up the phone and he showed me the tiniest screws and the tiniest things. And imagine if you get this new iPhone and you call up the company and say, tell me which wire is going to allow the phone still to work and I can make a phone call. He says it's the yellow wire moving from here to there. Okay, to everything else you don't need, right? So you open up the phone and you take out all the screws and you start cutting all the wires. You put it back together and your phone works. Which Meshuggah is going to do that? It's nuts, right? So the Rebbe is saying like this. Our Neshama is plugged in with 613 wires to keep our Neshama healthy, strong, and well connected. You cut one of those wires, the phone is still going to work. Your Neshama is still going to work. You're still going to be alive. But obviously, the more of those wires you snap, the Neshama is not operating properly. It's not working well. Well, the Rebbe says there are certain wires that if you cut them, what does that do? Certain wires that if you cut them, what happens? Caputo, the whole phone doesn't work anymore. Goodbye. Certain wires in our Neshama, if we cut them, that's like the main power cord. Like, in your computer, you have so many different wires connecting the computer. You have a wire connecting the monitor, and then you have a wire connecting the keyboard, and you have a wire connecting the mouse. You have a wire connecting the printer. You have a wire connecting the speakers. Sometimes you have an extra camera on it or whatever, a wire connecting the camera. If you have an extra game connected to it, you have a wire connecting that. What happens if you're into snipping wires mode, and you want to snip wires? So you go and you snip, you say, I want to see what happens if I snip this wire. You snip it and everything is fine, besides the mouse isn't working. Can you still use your computer without a mouse? Not too easy. Very hard to figure out how to move around and get things. Okay, but whatever. Then you decide, you know what, you snip this wire, suddenly the sound doesn't work. So if you're playing anything, you can't hear. Right, so that's really, really ruining it. But okay, you can survive, the computer still works. But then there's this big, thick wire that's plugged in like that, and if you cut that, what happens? It's dead, the whole computer is gone. So this is how the Rebbe, how the Frierdiekr Rebbe explains the difference of why Jews, you have Yidden, every single Yidden are afraid to do certain Averas Jews are afraid to do. Like a big Avera. It's an Avera that gives us Chai of Karis. But then there are small things that people are not that worried, they sometimes do whatever. So the Rebbe says it's because every Yid essentially feels, that's part of our Neshama, every single Yid feels that Hashem is our life. That's just part of us, that's who we are. Because we're different than the rest of the world. We have Neshamas that are a piece of Hashem. And therefore we feel that we must be connected to Him. It's that certain things, even if you cut them, they cut. It's very terrible. Why? Because it cuts your hearing. You don't, just like your speakers aren't working. It's cutting something else that's very important, but you don't feel it that much. It's possible for a person not to realize that he's causing such terrible damage to his own neshama. But when it comes to a big thing, every single Yid feels that he's becoming disconnected from Hashem, and every Yid was even willing to give his life up, chas v'shalom, not to do that avera. So this is all explaining to us that what? How there is a ruach shtus, how there's a foolishness when we're doing things that we're not supposed to be doing, we're not being a Jew, a Yid, the way a Chiddush Yid, the way we're supposed to, then it's a shtus, it's mamash a shtus, it's a narishkeit. The Rebbe explains, not in this sif, but in the next sifim, or 2 or 3 sifim further, that the way we counter, we all fall into this foolishness. Sometimes we will forget, we don't realize what Torah and Mitzvah say, how precious, and how it is mamish who we are. Sometimes we forget that. So the way we are supposed to counter this shtus is to serve Hashem like a chassid with shtus to kedusha. That means that we devote ourselves to our mission of being Yidden and being chassidim with all of our being, but even in times, even in ways that it's beyond our mind, beyond what our mind understands. With as we said earlier, the ultimate thing is to be a crazy Lubavitcher. That's what, and through our craziness, we will bring Mashiach. What kind of craziness? Again, remember, craziness means not stop doing ridiculous things. Craziness means doing what we need to do, but doing them even when we don't understand, and doing them with a devotion and with an energy more than our mind. Our mind, at a certain point, says, relax, you did hard enough. You learned, so you're learning the Perek Rambam every day. You learned most of the Perek. So you learned 13 halachas. There's 16 halachas. You did enough. Go sleep. Tomorrow you'll wake up. You finish the other 3. My high, what's going to be? But because you feel I'm a chassid of the Rebbe, no, he wants me to do the whole Perek. I am so tired and I can't keep my eyes open. I'm going to sit and I'm going to mumble the words and I'm going to follow it and I'm going to say it. Why? Because I have to. Why? That's madness. That's craziness. And the same is also craziness. You decide you're going to find a Yid to put on tefillin. You're out already an hour. You're out already 2 hours. You don't find anybody. You want to go home. You're tired. You say, I'll come back next week. No, I'm going to find someone. Why? Because I know if I'm coming home with Tzayim and the Rebbe sent me, there must be a Yid out somewhere that I need to find. It's like madness. It's like you go beyond what your mind tells you in doing good things. And that's how we change the world and we bring Mashiach.
Thank you very much.